Is there a downside to having structure and routine in our lives? Because some of us are striving to build a structure and routine. Some of us naturally gift towards having a structure and routine. Some of us strive off having one and couldn't really live without one. And some of us are trying to build one. And today I want to talk about the downsides that I have found of having structure and routine in my life. And so like I just mentioned, some people are trying to build structure and routine in their life, and some people just gravitate towards it and couldn't live without it. And sometimes I kind of feel a little bit unfortunate, but I gravitate more towards the latter in the fact that I strive from having structure and routine. Certain aspects of my life I couldn't really live without having structure and routine. I feel like I need it to perform either at my best or just at a normal level. And today, like I say, I want to talk about the downsides that I found, because recently I'm starting to fall into the gap of feeling like I need to take more risks. I need to be a little bit more spontaneous. And with that, I'm trying to weigh up the positives of doing that, trying to weigh up the negatives, the positives of staying in a routine and structure, and the negatives of that. So, I think there's a plus and minus to both. I want to talk about the downsides that I find being so sort of regimented and wanting to be so structured and routined for everything. And so some of the earliest memories I kind of have of being so obsessed with a structure and routine. And when I say obsessed, it might just be basic things, like I would hate to be late. Going to school, I'd always wake up 1 hour before, make sure I'm out the door, go to school. I would hate the thought of being late. Now, have I been late? Of course I have. But I would try and do everything in my power to avoid being late. And I don't know if it's just a form of internal embarrassment, kind of like, that thing when you walk in and everyone stares at you. Not that necessarily thing of everyone staring at you, but that feeling of, I don't want to say failure, but, if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. When you're kind of that person that's always on time, you want to be on time. I don't mean half an hour early. I would never be early, but I'd like to be on time. And so that was kind of like where I figured, okay, I've got a little bit of a habit here, wanting a bit of a routine, a bit of structure around something. And then when I started school, didn't really find any structural routine there. But then when I left and got a full-time job, in terms of whatever my tasks will be that day, I would repeat that every single day in that order by a certain time. If I can do it faster, that's great. And you might kind of say there's some form of something going on there. That's not right. But I think other people fall into that same trap. If I was to work in an office, I would kind of be the sort of person that would want everything organised. Start at 9 o'clock, get this done by 10 past, this done by 20 past. It's just a form of trying to it kind of falls into discipline, trying to keep myself organised, trying to keep myself at a certain standard as well. And obviously, when I was getting up for school and didn't want to be late, that's not me saying at the age of 10, I want to keep a standard here of always being on time. That's just something I gravitated towards. But like even at work now, when I want to do things in a certain order, in a certain way, follow a certain routine, that's part of it you could say is kind of lazy, because a part of me is starting to find it a little bit lazy, that I'm just following the same routine, trying nothing new. I know if I do this in this order, it will produce this outcome. Do I ever go in above and beyond? No. Do I ever go in lower? No. So part of it could be a little bit lazy because I'm not willing to try anything new. I'm not willing to try a different pattern, try a different way. But on the other hand, you could say I'm quite productive in a slight way, because doing it in that order every day, regardless whether I've had 1 hour sleep, 10 hours sleep, feel ill, don't feel ill, I will follow that pattern and it will produce this outcome. So on that hand, you could say that's quite disciplined, that. He's going to produce this outcome regardless of how he feels. But lately, just thinking in my life, and I did a video recently talking about taking risks, and taking risks kind of goes against the idea of structure and routine, because structure and routine, of course, kind of falls into the idea of discipline in a way, in the fact that you're going to do X regardless of how you feel. You're going to do X regardless of whatever. And so to take a risk, it kind of feels like a detour from what you know produces this outcome. In fact, I'm going to go this way. And it's hard to go that way when you're so used to producing this constant outcome all the time. And that's probably one of the biggest downfalls I've found recently in myself. This is all like internal thinking, is that I don't take many risks. I don't ever do anything different. If I go to work and something's maybe different than how it should be, and it causes me to do my routine a little bit different, I won't say I feel off the whole day. Definitely not. As I've got older, you kind of get into that not caring as much. Or maybe because I've worked there that long, I don't care that much. but you still kind of feel a little bit off, and you'll do what you can to get back into that normal structure and routine, you know. And let's say where you work has set hours, set shifts that fit round you, it can put you off because you're used to that structure and routine. It can put you off going to apply for another job or try something different because you're like, I'm so used to this, it fits so well in my life. Either you've worked your life around them hours, or them hours have worked their life around you, whatever it may be, and you get so used to it in a way, and you sort of get a little bit trapped, kind of how I feel right now, and you're like, I want to try something new. But then when you do go job searching, for example, you look at all the different jobs, and again, this is the part of taking a risk, trying something different. You kind of fall into that, do I really want to do that? Do I really want to try that? What if it's different to what I'm doing now? What if it kind of turns my life upside down? And instead of going from doing morning shifts, I've got to do evening shifts, and that means I've got to sort X, Y, and Z out, and I've got to live my life this way. You know, that is one of the big downfalls as well, is that once you get comfortable with structure and routine, it's hard to break out of it. And so where I'm at right now is I'm kind of getting to the point, and again, it's probably because I've worked at the place I have for so long, and it's more work related this, but I'm just willing just to try things in a different order than I normally am, because like I say, if anyone knows me, they know I'm a structured, routine, disciplined kind of person. Not everywhere in my life, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I wake up every day and do X, Y, and Z in perfect order, blah, blah, blah. I'm not. But if there's someone you know that's probably structured and routine the most, it's probably me. But now I'm getting to the point, in my work life especially, where I'm just ready to try something new. And I'm starting to think to myself as well, a positive could be, if my routine is this and I try something different, what if by me trying something different I can add to that structure and routine? You know, what if I only try something different for 2 weeks, 6 weeks, and then in that 2 to 6 weeks period I find a couple of new things and I go, you know what, I'm happy to go back to the routine because that worked best, but I can add these new things in. And I guess that kind of goes down the whole thing of new experiences, trying new things. And again, this is in a work related environment. Again, don't know how many new things you can try, but you get my gist, you know. And it's maybe them people who have the same thing for lunch every day at work, or go to the same place, spend the dinner the same way. What if you try something different? What if you try something else? And again, that is the main downfall of this structure and routine, is you're not trying many new things. And certain times structure and routine is great. You know, if I was settling in at a new job tomorrow, I would try and nail down a structure and routine as soon as possible, because I want to produce a decent standard of work, I want to get working there, I want to get comfortable. But I also can see the benefits of going in there and trying my hand at different things and just getting a taste for it, and not being so regimented and stuck at viewing things, you know, in one way.